Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Aschman, and I want to start by thanking all of you for signing up for today's workshop on how to avoid leaving your family with a tangled mess when you get to the end of the line. This is a really important topic, and we're excited to get started. What you're about to hear represents the best and brightest thinking from my team and is the collective wisdom of over 100 years' experience. We're excited to have you and look forward to hearing your thoughts and concerns related to the topics we'll discuss today. You are welcome to turn on your video because we love to see faces, but for the flow of the presentation, we ask that you keep your microphone muted. If you have any questions at any point during the workshop, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll do our best to address your remarks. Now I'd like to introduce you to one of the founders of our firm, Tom, and he is right here in the center of our slide.
Good afternoon. My partner, Kathy, and I, Kathy, you see there holding the sign, Best of the Best, which is an award we've won for the last several years as the best financial planning firm in Frederick County. We started the firm with one idea, is not to find products and then deliver those products to people. What we wanted to do was find people, find out what their needs were, and deliver on those needs and go out and look for the product that fit that need. It's a basic fundamental difference in how our company works. And it's something that we are very proud of, that culture that we've created and the growth that we've had. We've added a few more people to this group shot. I'll have to update that for us at some point in the future. I'd like to introduce you to Kurt. Kurt is one of our senior investment advisors. Very happy to be on this presentation with Kurt. And I'll let Kurt tell you a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Tom. My colleagues and I, we have a real passion for today's topic, and you'll get to learn our different views and perspectives because we represent three very different age groups. I'm married, 56 years old. I've got two daughters in college. My wife and I are parents. They're in their 80s and in generally good health. 2 years ago, my dad passed away from cancer, and that was a real learning experience that opened my eyes to the value of having a long-term care plan. You'll be able to learn more about me and my colleagues on LinkedIn and our website, which is tpfinancial.com. We've got bios of all three of us as well as the rest of the team there, and we'll have the website address on a screen later on in the presentation. Jess is up next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Aschman, and I'm Client Service Coordinator here at Turning Point Financial. I work behind the scenes to get a lot of things happen, but my favorite part about the job is working directly with clients to make sure their needs are met. I am happily married, 31 years old, and I have two puppies, although they're not really puppies. They're, a little bit older, but they're always puppies in my eyes. My parents are in their 50s and 60s right now and at varying degrees of health. What brought me here for this particular workshop is because I had a difficult loss a couple of years back. My mother-in-law passed away. And right now, my parents and I are talking about the value of a financial plan to make sure that they're organized, that they have established clear goals, and they have everything in order if something were to happen.
I'm Tom Pignone. I am in my late 70s. I was married for 38 years when I lost my wife with an automobile accident, something that I was totally unprepared for, not only the grief, but all of the minutia that went around it and all the legal problems. I have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. I have since remarried, and my wife has 2 children and 4 grandchildren. So we're now round out to a nice 10 there. This topic that we're covering today, I think, is critically important. I see the negative side of it when clients come to speak with me every year. We have face this difficulty with clients. I hope you get something out of this. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Kurt and let him take it from there.
I know some of you have attended our events before, and you know that I like to be upfront, tell you exactly what's going to happen, so there's no surprises. Today we have three basic parts to the presentation. First, we'll cover steps that you and your family can take to get all your affairs in order. Second, we'll show how this might personally affect you because there's many factors that must be considered. We have some very good stories to share with you. And as Jess mentioned earlier, we'll have Q&A. We're going to do that at the end. You can put your questions in the chat at any time. We want to help you understand the importance of planning and not leaving a mess for your loved ones. Our goal today, it's general education. Unfortunately, we're not able to give personal financial advice in a group setting like this. And because of that, your participation today, it entitles you to a free consult. And there we can talk about your unique circumstances and we can gather all the necessary information in order to provide professional advice. I'll tell you how to schedule that later on.
If folks take a look at this, these three images here, you may identify with them. Many times when I'm talking with clients, they don't want to talk about the subject of their passing, their dying, for fear that if they talk about it, it'll happen. It'll happen. It's just a matter of when. And will you be prepared? I hope that you'll take some of these recommendations to heart. And if we can be of any help, we certainly would like to do that.
Well, have you got it covered? Maybe you set up a will, you think you got your ducks in a row. There are certainly plenty capable do-it-yourselfers out there, and some just need a little bit of reassurance that they have everything correct. And that's part of what our company helps families do. We're experienced in this type of planning, and sometimes there are people that we meet who have everything covered. We shake their hands and wish them well and send them on their way.
In our experience, there's never a good time. And there's always some life event, work project, or family thing that prevents us from taking care of what really needs to be handled. How important is it? How would it make you feel to know that your loved ones will be cared for, looked after, financially secure, no matter what, after you're gone? Folks, this is a priority, and the time is now. If you wait, it may be too late and may just never get done. Who are you on this slide? As Jess mentioned, sometimes we meet with families, they're in good shape, they're well organized, everything's up to date, and we let them know, and we part ways as friends. End of life planning, it's not just uncomfortable, it's very uncomfortable. And that's why we all put it off. If you don't get around to it, your family is left to guess. Guess about what they think that you would want. But if you do it, your last wishes may be fulfilled. You may get the burial and funeral arrangements that you want. Your family can continue with their current lifestyle, stay in the current home, and comfortably move on from your passing. What we're talking about here, it's at least three things. One, taking care of all the important paperwork that an estate attorney would help you with. Two, working with a certified financial planner to ensure all your financial bases are covered for you and your loved ones. And three, writing out your personal intentions for your funeral, your burial, your last wishes, and making it known. If you do not handle these three areas, you leave it to chance, and you may be leaving your family with a tangled mess. And that mess, it's emotional, financial, legal, and mental.
Like Kurt mentioned, these topics are difficult. And let's be honest, nobody at any point in their lives wants to think about losing their independence or having to rely on other people really for anything. But just because these topics are difficult and we don't really want to think about them doesn't mean that we shouldn't address them. There will come a day for many of us where we might not be able to drive, where we might not be able to start our day like the way we normally do, or feed ourselves. We might retain those abilities, and maybe we might have trouble paying bills or, making sure we're not running out of money. There are a lot of things that are up to chance, and we don't necessarily know how things will play out, but we can certainly plan for them. And here at Turning Point, we value people at all ages, and we celebrate life, want to provide support for any shifts that may occur. So if you feel like you might need somewhere to start, we're certainly happy to help.
This next slide, we have the most important areas to tackle, and we're going to give you our thoughts on each. Physical well-being. Our elderly loved ones, they should be accompanied by another family member for doctor visits. It provides an extra set of eyes, ears, and questions that can be asked. Sometimes recording these doctor consultations, that can be a good idea, especially if specialized care or surgery is required. We did this with my dad, who bravely battled cancer. Next, mental well-being. The key to longevity, it's staying engaged. How are your loved ones meeting that challenge? What will you do when your time comes to stay engaged? One, spiritual life, that's a very personal thing, and its importance, it depends on the person. My dad, he told us where he wanted to be buried, the type of service he wanted, and knowing that made planning much easier. We didn't know his last wishes, but fortunately they happened, and we now know that that was important to him. Lastly, legal and financial well-being. We've already touched on that some with an estate attorney and a CFP, or certified financial planner. We're going to have more to say on this later. But a life without these, it causes things to take much longer, and oftentimes it costs a lot more.
By their plan, what do we mean by their plan? Their plan is a judge. Each state has its own set of regulations on what to do, or the process to settle an estate for someone who has not taken the time to do it themselves. We, our firm here at Turning Point, we reside in the state of Maryland, although as a firm, we have clients throughout the country and even overseas. What I want to give you is an idea of what the state does. In this case, I'll use the state of Maryland. Most of the other states in this country have very similar situations. You might want to check with your state's attorney general to see what their situations are, but they're pretty much going to line up with what we do here in Maryland. I'll give you an idea. If a decedent has a spouse, but no parents and no children, the spouse inherits everything. If the decedent has a spouse and children that are minors, and that's under the age of 18, the spouse inherits 50% of the decedent's assets, and the children, the minor children, inherit the other 50%. If the decedent has the spouse and no minor children, they have adult children, the spouse inherits the first $40,000 and half of everything else, and the children then receive the other half. If the decedent has a spouse and living parents but no descendants, and the spouse has been married for less than 5 years, the spouse inherits the first $40,000 and half of everything else, and the parents inherit the other half. And take a look at this one. If a decedent does not have a will, does not have any family, the property will go to the state, in our case, the state of Maryland. And the state of Maryland decides what to do with that money or that value. In the state of Maryland, it goes to either the county of the decedent's health department or to the Board of Education, and it's then used for non-budgeted items in the school system's list of needs. These may not be the kinds of things that you would like to have happen to your estate. So to prevent that, plan now, and we'd be happy to help.
Well, we put this off for a lot of different reasons, and Kurt mentioned earlier in the presentation that, lots of things happen day to day, and, there's always something else going on, and we can always get to it later. But the reality is that even if we have other things going on, this type of topic can't be overlooked. Regardless of where you're at, the process is easy if you work with someone who's done it many times before, and we have. We do this all the time with our clients. And if you don't have anyone that you know or trust personally, let us know. We're happy to work with you.
No plan is chaos. 70% of the adults in this country do not have a will or a plan. We talked to you a little bit before about what those results will be. I'll also encourage you to check your beneficiaries. Check your beneficiaries on life insurance policies, on pension plans, on 401ks, IRAs, any type of asset that you might have that would carry a beneficiary. I've seen quite a few disturbing situations here. I remember once I had a client who was as a young teacher graduating from college, went to work for a school system, named her parents as the beneficiary, later married, and then divorced and remarried. And when she passed away, she never changed the beneficiary from her parents. From her first day working in the school system, her parents inherited the estate, which left the spouse in other chaos. You don't want to see those kinds of things happen to you. Check those beneficiaries now and make sure. You should check them at least every 5 years to make sure they're updated.
Here's what can happen if you just leave it alone, ignore it, and do nothing. This is not the answer. No one should do that. But the fact is, most of us do. What Tom just described with how the state of Maryland handles things and the story he told, that is a tangled mess. That is horrible. Nobody wants to live that. How can it be that 70% of the population doesn't have a will? Doing nothing, it puts your family in a very bad place, and it may cause irreparable damage. That's what you're hearing from us. Making this a priority and setting yourself and your family up for success, that's where we should all strive to be. So talk with us or talk with someone you trust if you need help getting started.
The story I want to share today relates to the passing of my mother-in-law, Sheila. This was, like I said earlier, about 2.5 years ago. The year leading up to her passing was filled with some ups and downs. Her health was fluctuating, and she had various needs come up unexpectedly. But she really had a bright spirit and was doing really well when we got the crushing news that she had passed away. Even though we knew her health was kind of fluctuating, we certainly didn't expect to lose her so soon or unexpectedly like that. And luckily, she had a financial advisor that she had worked with. She did have a will, but she didn't have other things covered or stated, that could have been very helpful for us when we were dealing with the estate. We didn't know what other trusted contacts she had, if her other bills were taken care of. We didn't know if she had any last wishes. Didn't different things, some was like a general will, but it would have been really helpful if she had laid out a plan specifically as to what she wanted, especially when you're in a grieving process. It's really difficult to think about all of the things that can come up and the loose ends that need tidied up. So it's, from a person who's been through it before, being on the other end, I really encourage you to be very specific if you can. Don't any detail is helpful, because the details are the things for the people who are left behind that end up causing stress and make it difficult to move forward.
Planning is the answer, specifically a financial plan. And that's because it addresses everything we're talking about. A life without your financial affairs in order, that can be a mess for the whole family. As Tom described, if there's no will, the judge decides who gets what. If there's no life insurance or not enough life insurance, the survivors, they may have to move, or they might be forced to change their lifestyle. If there are not enough assets or a retirement strategy or up-to-date beneficiaries, that can mean many things, none of which are good. Our plan, we call it Compass because it provides direction and it addresses all these issues and more so that everyone knows what's supposed to happen and what's possible. A good plan, it gets you organized. It keeps you on track, creating a vision, clarity, and peace of mind. It's an investment in your family and an investment in your future. On our next slide, we have a list of exactly what you need to do. And these slides are available. If you'd like those, just send us an email. I'll have my email address at the end. First, you want to meet with an estate attorney. And if you don't have one, we can give you recommendations. We are in Maryland, but we work with a network of attorneys across the country. What's most important, what matters, is that your estate planning documents are in order. As far as the costs go, it's a pay now or pay later deal. If you pay now, you're going to get what you want, which is your plan. If you don't do that, you get their plan, and it still has to be paid for. A plan without an attorney or a do-it-yourself plan, that may save you some money now, but it could cost you in the long run. If you miss something, or the language is not exact, or your state's laws changed. In the scheme of life, using an attorney to get it right, it's a no-brainer. Next, talk to the family about accompanied healthcare visits. This is incredibly valuable, and it provides peace of mind for everyone. Third, set a meeting with your financial advisor. And if you don't have one, we'd be happy to talk to you. You might consider including other family members, depending on your circumstances. And assessing life and long-term care insurance, that's a big part of this step. Your aging plan, who will care for you when you no longer can. This again speaks to working with a variety of trusted advisors to get all your affairs in order. Lastly, think about and write down your final wishes, your funeral, your end-of-life plans, and share that with the family. Our suggestions on a video and a letter, they should not be overlooked. It's my firm belief that everyone needs a financial plan, and that's regardless of your age, your net worth, your stage in life, whatever. It analyzes every aspect of your financial life: taxes, insurance, Social Security, cash flow, investments, budgets, beneficiaries, life and long-term care insurance, and charitable giving. And it aligns all those areas with your goals and legacy planning. It doesn't matter how much you have or how much you have saved if you won't achieve your goals, your lifetime goals, and establish the legacy you want. It's all about getting organized, making your goals a reality, living a rich life, and having whatever is necessary in place so that you don't leave your family with a tangled mess when you get to the end of the line.
we all have stuff, right? We all have things. Can't take them with us, obviously. But how do we get that settled? I've seen situations where children of a deceased client argue. I saw a violent argument with a brother and sister over who was going to get the dining room table, to the point that they never speak to one another again. You don't want to see that happen to your family. My late wife's mother-in-law, as she was aging, still cognizant, she called her three daughters together, my wife and her two sisters, and she had a meeting where she had gone to a stationery store and she bought a package of dots. And each of the daughters was given a color. Ours happened to be yellow. And we went around the house, and each one choosing an item in turn, starting with the eldest, placed a dot on the back of a painting, on the bottom of a vase, on the bottom of a chair, something of that nature. And when mom passed away, there was no argument. We just went around and collected all the yellow dots and brought those items home. Myself, my wife and I are downsizing to some degree. I brought my children together and we started a video. And I take an item. This is great grandmother's cut crystal cream and sugar bowl. And this is great grandfather's chair. This is et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the children not only got an item that they took home with them then, but they got the story of the item. They got the importance of the item in the family history, so that they could carry that home and share it with their children and make it a fruitful, meaningful thing for them to have. Obviously, some things nobody wants, and kind of surprises us that nobody wants them. And for those things, as we were downsizing some of our items, went to Goodwill or to some other charitable organization. But taking those things and doing that video or sharing those items with your children in that way really makes it meaningful. And I would suggest strongly that you do that. There are also many books on this. If you want, we can give you titles of things of that nature that you might want to look at.
Folks, we've thrown a lot at you today, and you wouldn't be here if you didn't think this wasn't important. As we've presented today, there are good and not so good outcomes when we all eventually come to the end of the line. In our experience, the Compass Financial Plan, that's the best solution. No matter how much or how little organized you are, our process pulls everything together. It entails a review, an analysis, and recommendations for every aspect of your financial life, including estate planning and end-of-life planning. Just send us an email if you'd like to schedule a time to learn more about it. We're going to take some questions in just a minute, and you can put those in the chat. Thank you for those that have already been submitted. As I mentioned early on, your participation today, it entitles you to a free consult and our free financial scorecard. The scorecard, it's a dozen questions online, that will give you an idea of just how organized you really are and if you have all your bases covered. I'm going to send that to you this afternoon by email. Let's look over some questions in our chat box. If you have a question, just pop it in the chat. We'll read those over and answer them for you here to the best of our ability. If you prefer, you can also email me your question.
Kurt, we have a question here. How do you know how much life insurance to get if you already have one in place? I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about here, but how do you know how much life insurance to get?
Good question. And I guess to take it a step further, do you need life insurance? Some people don't need life insurance. There's different ways to calculate how much you need. There's 3 different methods that I think are most common. One is 10 times your salary. That's a quick and easy calculation some folks use. Another is where you do the math. That's what I did for my family. You consider current expenses, current debts, future expenses, and you come up with a number. And then the third one would be just covering your expenses, having the house paid for, having all the debts taken care of so that the survivors have a completely clean slate upon your passing. We can help you with that analysis. We offer life insurance solutions here at Turning Point, and we'll even review what you currently have. I know a number of you on the line are federal employees, and in our experience, FEGLI, it gets expensive as you get older, and private insurance solutions are often much more cost effective. I think we're going to do a workshop on that second half of the year because some of the numbers we've seen are pretty compelling. Families saving anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a year sometimes on life insurance premiums.
Yeah, I might add here, sometimes life insurance can be for a specific purpose. I had a client in the office yesterday who she and her husband bought a farm and it's their major asset. She wanted to pass that farm on to her children, but knowing that the estate taxes would probably require them to sell the farm in order to pay the taxes, they took out life insurance policies to provide to pay that specific cost tax so that the children could then continue to enjoy going out to the farm for vacation times, etc. I've seen situations where a life insurance policy is the right thing to do when you have a family business and it's a matter of moving that family business, who's going to take it over and at what cost, and et cetera. And so sometimes a life insurance policy can solve that need. Sometimes it's a first to die, second to die rather, type of a policy. Sometimes a policy can be linked to a long-term care situation. So you can do 2 jobs with the same dollar. There are all different reasons for a life insurance policy and to meet those specific purposes. So you really need to talk to an expert in that case.
Folks, this event is being recorded, and if you'd like a copy of the recording, we'll have that available this time tomorrow. Just shoot us an email. We'd be happy to share that that link with you. And if you even have any family members or colleagues that might be interested in this, we'd be happy to share it with them as well, or get it to you and you can share it with them. On our website, I have our website address listed there. You can learn more about the firm, our capabilities. We are a registered investment advisor. We're located in Frederick, Maryland, and we work with clients across the country. In fact, we even have some overseas clients. We have another question about financial advisor. How do I go about finding a financial advisor? I always have 2 suggestions related to that. One is these forums is a good way to check people out, get comfortable with them, see if they'll serve your needs. I would say fit and trust are probably the two most important things. Some people lead with cost. If you make your decisions based on cost, I'll tell you exactly where to go, and that's Vanguard. But finding someone you can trust and somebody and a firm that can solve your problems, fit your needs, help you accomplish what you want to accomplish, I think that's the way you want to go about finding somebody to work with. So checking us out at events like this. And then the second way, talk to your friends and family, get a referral from them and ask them who they use, who they like, what they like about them, and interview them. Check them out.
You want to get a fiduciary, a fiduciary means, that's a big word. A lot of people don't know what it means, but it's a person that has to take your interest first over their own, rather than someone that's say a commissioned salesman of some sort or another. So when you have a fiduciary, they have to be held to a higher standard. So that's something you might want to inquire about as well.
Just ask, are you a fiduciary?
I was talking to somebody yesterday that had attended one of our workshops, and they were pretty smart. They had this person was well into his 60s, will probably work till 70, good saver, good investor, had attended a lot of workshops. The only person to ever ask me about the sequence of returns risk and how we manage that. So we talked through his issues. I helped to answer his questions. We talked about financial planning. I had asked him about a comprehensive financial plan. And I was a little surprised. He didn't know what I was talking about. He said, Kurt, I've met with my Fidelity rep and we crunched the numbers and my money is going to outlast me and I'm going to have a comfortable retirement. Well, that's a retirement plan. That's not a financial plan. And the difference is the plans that we do for our clients, we're looking at taxes and reviewing your tax return and bringing our CPA and tax department into the process and helping families find ways to minimize their taxes. Fidelity wasn't doing that for him. We were reviewing his life insurance, his homeowner's insurance, his auto insurance, and helping him with that, finding ways to lower the premiums, maybe adjust the deductibles. Fidelity wasn't doing that for him. Social Security, when's the best time to take Social Security? That's part of our analysis. It's all the pieces of the puzzle that and how they work together is what a financial plan is all about, including the estate piece that we've talked so much about today and having all your ducks in a row there, as well as your end of life wishes and what you want that to look like.
I had a situation with a client that came to me. They had, through their various retirement plans, had created over $1 million. And they were asking me about, do they have enough to retire? On the face of it, it looked like a fall off the log easy answer. Yeah, $1 million, it should take you along. But when they told us what their plans were, that they were going to retire early, by early, I mean in their mid-50s. When they told us what they were planning to do in retirement, and we sat down and did a full financial plan, we found out that the things that they were intending to do all required them redeeming money from their qualified plans prior to age 59 and a half, where they were going to be paying, in addition to tax, they were going to be paying severe penalties. And when we looked at it, we realized that they had about a 9% chance of a successful retirement. So we had to give them the bad news that they couldn't retire in their early 50s, that they were going to have to work a little longer, save a little bit more, and postpone some of those big expensive items that they were thinking of spending until after they had fully retired and were able to take the distributions without major penalties.
When we presented this workshop yesterday, we had some questions around long-term care insurance and reverse mortgages. What those are, both of them, they're potential solutions to what it is you're trying to accomplish, what it is you're trying to prevent or avoid. And they may or may not be appropriate. And going through the planning process and looking at everything, the things we described in the presentation, the things that Tom and I have mentioned, that's how you figure out whether or not a reverse mortgage makes sense for you, whether or not you need long-term care insurance. I think more important than long-term care insurance is your long-term care plan. Insurance is one solution to the plan, but what's your plan? As I said in the presentation, I called it the aging plan. Who's going to care for you when you can no longer care for yourself? Some people rely on family. Some people have saved enough to be able to self-fund that sort of thing. Some people have long-term care insurance. Some people use a reverse mortgage. There's different ways, different solutions.
I've had a number of clients. I couldn't begin to count the number of times that this has happened over the years, that clients have come to us and they've saw an ad on a TV program or something like that to get a trust. And they pay sometimes $3,000, sometimes $5,000 to have a trust created. And they bring us this large book of their trust. And we find that they didn't put their assets, their home, their different investments, et cetera, in the trust, and have virtually no protection because of it. So sometimes they start in the right position, start with the right frame of mind, but don't finish what they were attempting to do, and thereby negate the whole process. So really the money would be wasted if they hadn't taken the time to put those assets into the trust. Another area I have concern about is that power of attorney situation. Many times they'll get a power of attorney and the state laws change, and that power of attorney can be negated by a financial institution when they want to when their spouse wants to execute that power of attorney. Some cases they might have moved to another state, something like that. So you maybe want to update that. That's another thing you want to make sure you update at least every 4 or 5 years. Some people say 10, but you want it anytime there's a change in your status, you want to update that power of attorney, and you want to have it looked at every once in a while.
Thank you, Tom. We had done a estate planning workshop earlier this year. Some of you may have attended with Brian Saxton, and we have a recording of that. If you'd like that, shoot me an email. Happy to share that with you. That was a really popular event, and Brian goes into really the details of what we all need. And what we all need is 3 basic things: a will, medical directive or medical power of attorney, and a financial power of attorney. Those are three musts for everyone. Doesn't matter how old you are, what stage of life, net worth, all that stuff. So take care of that. If we can provide an attorney recommendation, just shoot us an email. There's nothing in it for us. As I said, we work with a network of attorneys nationwide. If you have a question, please feel free to put that in the chat. If you prefer, you can email me. I'll be emailing all of you this afternoon with our financial scorecard. That's a dozen questions online. It'll tell you exactly where you stand, what you need to be thinking about, the areas that we believe are most important when it comes to this sort of thing. If you want to schedule a free consult, I'll have a link to do that in my email to you.
Kurt, do we have a reference for Virginia? We have a client who needs to do many of the above items that we're.
Yes, we do. Send us an email. We need to know. I got this morning from yesterday's workshop. So the network of attorneys, I guess I should have been a little more clear and specific on how that works. We want to get you somebody in your general area. So if you could share with us the town or the city that you're in or near, that's really what we need to know to get you the person closest to you, rather than give you the names and contact information for everybody in the state of Virginia or whatever state that is. Folks, I think we're going to end a little early today. Thanks so much for your questions. Look for an email from me this afternoon. If you want the recording, we're happy to send that out as well. If we can be of help, please don't hesitate to call on us. And we look forward to hosting you at future workshops. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Take care, everyone. Thanks again.